They call this the most wonderful time of the year, but for those of us who are living in colder climates that actually see snow, you may beg to differ. Being outside in this type of weather isn't exactly fun. Hey, I used to love the snow when I was a kid, and it does look pretty at least when it first falls until it eventually turns into a slushy gray mess. And let's face it, driving like that is less than ideal, especially when it's snowing heavily. For lack of a better term, it sucks. But you know what's better than having to deal with driving in the snow in the wintertime? Staying home and playing GTA 4 with the snow mod installed. The last time I did a video about this, I showed off an older version of the snow mod by a modder called Jumbo. This one is available at gtagarage.com, and it's very well made. The game becomes even more gray and dreary if that was even possible, and it suits the entire atmosphere and feel of the game to a T. However, since then, I've discovered a few additions that I felt like sharing now that I've begun a playthrough of GTA 4 again with this mod active. These have all been around for a while, and now I want to show these off so that you can add them if you want to and have a nice wintry, Christmassy experience in the game. First off is the main snow mod itself. There's an updated version of this on GTA Inside that a user called Flash created that makes a few changes. For starters, the snowflakes in this version are now much more pronounced than they used to be in the older one. The old one feels like how snow probably would have looked in the original game if it actually had snow, but this one makes it look like how a blizzard would probably look in the game, and both look good in my opinion. A much larger change with this mod, and one that I think will depend on your personal taste as to whether or not you like it, comes to the time cycle and lighting. When it's not snowing, the skies can be clear and very bright blue. When it's snowing, during the daytime, everything feels like it's in a blizzard, and everything in the distance will be obscured to an extent. Kinda reminds me a bit of Silent Hill. I think it looks cool, but it may or may not be to your liking. If you want just normal snowfall, maybe the old snow mod would work for you, but if you want something that looks like a very heavy snowfall, this would be the mod for you. Now that's during the daytime. At night, I think this mod actually makes nighttime look better than it does in the regular game. Everything is way darker, and you pretty much have only lighting coming from streetlights, vehicles, and buildings. The streetlights also cast an orange shade over everything, and the sky has an orange glow to it as well, which actually reminds me of how things used to look in cities before LED streetlights became common everywhere. Back then, sodium vapor lamps were commonly used, and everything was drenched in an orange shade. I know that where I live, because it's a huge city and there's about 300,000 streetlights, this was causing light pollution bad enough that sometimes the sky looked like it was glowing orange at night if it was too cloudy or snowing. Now that we have LED streetlights, it doesn't look like this anymore, but seeing it in the game like this has an oddly nostalgic feel for me. Again, this might not be to your liking, and you may think that the color might be too intense, but I like it. Cutscenes that take place outside can look really cool with this mod too. Have a look for yourself.
Dmitri.
Hey. Sit down.
What's the problem?
You know, the crooks I can handle. See, that I can spin. But not this. Not this.
You got the big problem then.
Others might be a little too dark, unfortunately, since the characters won't always be standing in front of a light source that allows you to clearly see them. Although I did think it at least made this part look kinda cool.
You remember me?
Kinda makes Nico look way scarier there. The next thing that you might or might not want to change is vehicle handling. Jumbo's original mod has 3 different options for it: light, moderate, and heavy. Light feels mildly slidey, but it's very much like the original game's handling during the rain. Moderate is more difficult to control, and it kind of forces you to be smart about how you navigate the map. 4x4s and cars with all-wheel drive are the best choices when driving. The Rancher and Cavalcade were both my go-tos for driving with this type of handling, and the Comet is surprisingly the best car to drive in this once you can get it. It's all-wheel drive and it goes much faster than you would with other cars. Roman's Taxi, for instance, is going to be really tough to go anywhere far in, and you can expect to fishtail, spin out, or go sliding often. Sometimes if you don't even have a good enough car nearby, you're probably better off walking, taking the train, or taking a taxi. NPCs don't fare much better, but the heavy setting is probably the worst one. You can't even get past the first mission because Roman's Taxi is required for the mission, and you start off in a low-lying area and you will not be able to get up the hill. If you want to stick to the original handling, of course, you can do that too. Just make sure you back up the original materials file and use that one. And by the way, people will be slipping and sliding on the ground whenever you try to run into them, and it looks amazing. The euphoria physics actually try to keep them up. A third change you can make for the game comes to the NPCs. Some do walk around wearing short sleeves, shorts, or just very little clothing altogether. But on GTA forums, Atromit has a mod called Winter Pedestrians, which basically gives all NPCs appropriate clothing for the colder weather. Everybody is now wearing jackets, coats, hats, and gloves, and their actions are appropriately adjusted. They try to warm themselves up, there's no more people doing Tai Chi in the park, and there's no more people jogging. But what about Nico? Sure, all of his clothes are already meant for cold weather, but he doesn't really have anything that's appropriate for heavy snowfall. This can be changed with a mod by Suede at GTAinside.com, who has a mod that gives Nico a long parka with a fur-lined hood. You got 3 options to choose from with it: black, red, and black leather. Additionally, I like to use the trainer to also add the unused fingerless gloves. And since we're right around the corner from Christmas, and I mean literally right around the corner, what can you do to make the game feel a bit more festive? At libertycity.net, Poton 40 has a mod available that changes the lights on the Rotterdam Tower to green and red, kind of like how the Empire State Building is actually lit up around Christmas. Rio Rasta X has a mod that changes the street artist's work to Christmas-themed artwork. And at GTA Inside, Brina de Rosa has a mod that adds Christmas decorations outside the McReary house. These 3 additions aren't much, but at least it's something to make the game feel a bit more like it takes place around Christmas. And of course, if you really wanted to, you could always add Christmas songs to Independence FM and have it act like one of those all-Christmas radio stations. If It Doesn't Snow on Christmas by Joe Pesci fits the in-game media content quite well. Yeah, that's right, Joe Pesci made a Christmas song. I feel like if they actually did a GTA set around Christmas time, this song would fit in perfectly. It's got the right amount of vulgarities and cynicism to feel like it came straight off the radio in this game. If you enjoy GTA 4 and want to experience the game in a way that does change the feel of it, but in a way that still suits it, then I would very much recommend checking out these mods. And don't worry, installing these mods is very easy. You can either use Fusion Overloader if you have the Fusion fix installed, or you could just replace the original files with new ones too if you don't have Fusion fix. Just make sure you make backups of the originals. I've included links to all of them in the description below. I'm also including a link to a mod that changes the sound effect for footsteps. Typically, when you're walking outside with one of these snow mods installed, because the snow replaces the rain, you're still going to hear wet footsteps on snow. But this mod replaces that with the sound of walking on snow, which makes more sense. And that's my late addition to this video. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, Merry Christmas, Happy Festivus, and have a Happy New Year as well. I'll see you in the year 2025.